It's your boy NK with Jose here, and we are talking The Bunny Game, a 2011 independent horror movie, directed by Adam Raymeyer, and basically it tells the story of a hooker who goes with a trucker, and that's pretty much what we're going to tell you so far. We're going to talk a little spoilers, so spoiler alert. So, Jose, let's get going. Let's get going with The Bunny Game.
Well, let me start by saying, Pretty Woman, it is not. Just to put it out there right now, okay? All right, and like you said, there are spoilers. This one, like I said, so I've heard about it a little bit. My boy threw it over at me as a challenge to watch it, so I did. Now, how do I put this delicate? Because I'm a fan of indie film. I am. But I gotta say, this one I was borderline bored with. I was shocked, actually, to be honest. Once he told me about it, I looked into it and saw the trailers and that, and I was like, oh, dude, this looks like it might actually be freaky. I might actually, have to take a shower after it. So start watching it, and the movie is about an hour and 16 minutes, so it's already kind of short for quote unquote, movie length. But of that hour and 20 minutes, the first 15 to 20 minutes were kind of, dude, what's going on? Has the movie started yet? It was literally the first 15 minutes is her going from trick to trick to trick, snorting coke, trick, snorting coke. I'm going to walk through the city streets like, this was 15 minutes. And I think actually, and the reason I'm pointing that out, and it's very important, is that first 15 to 20 minutes, I think, messed me up for the rest of the film, and I'll explain. First and foremost, if you're going to watch this film, like I said, there are spoilers about to come your way. This film does feature unsimulated sex scenes. You guys can take what I mean by that. The strange part was that the unsimulated scenes were kind of like, okay, I get it, she's a hooker, but it kind of was not needed. It sounds strange first time I say it, but it was kind of, it was kind of distracting, It wasn't like, Nymphomaniac with Shia LaBeouf or other ones, but it was just kind of like, you almost question, okay, I get it, she's a hooker, she's doing things. But once again, it wasn't just like a quick second. It's just, like I said, there's an issue with timing in the movie overall. But then with as much time as we're spending with the lead actress, they don't develop her character. Literally, all I can tell you about her is that she's a hooker, she does tricks, she snorts coke, and she can't walk for crap. So
it wasn't tantalizing.
Yeah, the first few minutes, it was kind of like, oh, whoa, dang. It's like they're going for the gusto here. And then after the first 2 or 3 minutes, it's like, okay, they're still going for the gusto. And then it's like, okay, I'm 10 minutes in, I'm like, am I watching a movie or a documentary about a hooker? Pimps up, hoes down. That's an old reference. But anyway, so we finally get to the point of the trucker that picks this girl up. So the trucker, I'm going to admit, the actor, they did a good job. He's one of those, the actor, regular face you could recognize, but at the same time has a real creepy feel to him. So I have to give him props.
Casting, okay.
The casting on his character, they did a pretty good job because, he definitely gave you that uneasy feeling, that stranger danger, that kind of thing. But so she gets in the truck, and then out of nowhere, they're going from 0 to 90 as far as like the action. It's like, okay, it just picked up. Okay, now let's see what's going to happen. And the first few moments, once again with the trucker, once he basically chloroforms her, and it turns out that the back of the truck is empty. It is basically his own little torture fest area.
Ooh, Lord.
So so here the anticipation. Now let me make sure I'm saying this right. What I was seeing versus the anticipation were two different things. The anticipation was like, oh yeah, okay, now we're gonna get into it. But once again, the delivery was kind of okay. He starts slapping her around, undressing her. She's knocked out. He's undressing her. He's doing things. And so yes, it's making it. That's going to make anybody feel uneasy. But still, at the same time, it was kind of like, okay, what's he going to do? And okay, then he's going to take this sleeve off. Okay, what's going to happen? He took the other sleeve off. I'm like, okay, dude, it's an hour and 16-minute movie. We're already 30 minutes in. come on. So it sounds bad, but it's kind of like, it's not so much me wanting to see someone get tortured. It's just the pacing was definitely beginning to be a distraction at that point. But then basically the rest of the film, so he's doing he's slapping around, he's beating, doing this and that, he's terrorizing her, scaring her. And don't get me wrong, it is definitely one of those like, oh crap, But once again, it doesn't just do it once. It does it for 6 or 7 minutes straight, to the point that you become desensitized to what you're seeing. And I think that's the biggest problem that I have with it, is by the end of the movie, I was just kind of like, what's on TV? And I hate to say that, because like I said, I'm a fan of indie film, and I hate to badmouth it. But I think the biggest thing that I found with it, the biggest issue I had was two, I think, things that were too distracting to the point that I was disengaged from it. One, they did not develop the female character well enough. You didn't care about her.
Right.
You build a character, because that way when you see them going through this crazy stuff, it's like, no, don't hurt her. It was just kind of like... And then the other was the pacing. I mean, there was a scene, like... okay, for the old school people, I'm going to throw something out there. The Van Damme classic, No Retreat, No Surrender. If you remember... you like that one. No, here's why I bring it up. The movie was notoriously bad for many reasons, but one of them was they kept repeating a training montage. The main character is training in martial arts for more than half the movie. Like, every 2 minutes, something happens. Okay, we're going to go jogging again. We're going to lift weights. We're going to go to the playground and do stuff wearing really short shorts in front of little kids, But it was like the repetitive of the montage. And that's what was happening here. The torture scenes became repetitive montage scenes. The same thing happening over it again. And the pacing was just atrocious. Such to the point that they started throwing in flashbacks where he has done this to other women, but the flashbacks were so random that it was kind of like, wait a minute, is that the girl, or is this the other person? I can't tell. And that's actually that sums it up right there. I felt like I was watching a random collection of scenes, not a cohesive film.
Was it hard to tell due to the fact that it was in black and white also?
Yeah, they did. Being that it was done in black and white, some of the scenes did have issues where you couldn't tell, and that's actually where I was getting at, that you couldn't tell was it a flashback or not, because you couldn't tell which girl was he torturing.
Right. Because
they'd be like, here's a scene. And let me tell you, the girl, the main character is blonde. He ends up shaving her head. But when he does that, you can't tell at some point the difference between her or some of the other actresses from what were turned out to be flashbacks from him doing this prior. So yeah, the black and white was cool, but they didn't pay attention to the lighting well enough, knowing that they were going to shoot black and white.
So you didn't feel bad at the end when, he had her knocked out and then just gave her to another trucker to go to, do it with whatever the next trucker was going to do?
I'm going to sound very bad on this. And once again, it's just because by this point I was so disengaged. I was like, I'm like, dude, I promise I'm going to watch this movie. Literally, I found myself like, I'm like, dude, I was ready to turn it off, and I'm like, is it over yet? No, to answer your question, I think literally the words that came out of my mouth, well, that sucks. and in that exact way. Damn. And like I said, it's one of those, there was definitely hype to it. The trailer definitely made it look cool. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm enjoying torture films like that, but like I said, if you're not invested in the character, if you're not caring about the character, and like I said, at that point, I felt I was just watching flashing scenes. It was like, okay, there was no story to it. So I couldn't get into it enough to actually get freaked out by it. I think that's basically where I'm getting at. I couldn't. It just
okay. There
was too many distractions with the lack of story, the way the scenes were shot. It was just kind of I mean, an hour and 16-minute movie felt like watching Lord of the Rings back to back.
Jeez, that's terrible. That's terrible. So basically, on the shower scale, you didn't feel like you had to take a shower afterward.
Man, I needed a drink afterward. That's what I needed, and that was to be able to go to sleep. It's like, man, and not because I was scared, just because I'm like, I'm so mad I lost an hour and 16 minutes. That felt like 3.
Oh man.
and like I said, once again, it had potential, and that's actually the real bitch of it. It had potential.
It just didn't live up to it.
The execution is where they faltered.
Okay.
Still love indie film though.
Yeah, we still love indie film. That's what we're proud of. They like to try to push the limits, and they tried to push the limits. It didn't really work out. So, all right, that was the Bunny Game. check it out. It's out there. You can find it on Amazon. We'll give you a link in the description. And don't forget to come back next week. I'm going to try to continue to push this man's limits with Salò. 120 Days of Sodom. Give that a look-see next week when we post it. And thank you again for watching Pushing the Limits.